When my husband chose to abandon me again to celebrate Puppy Love's birthday, I finally let go. He took Puppy Love to gaze at the stars, and I didn't argue or make a sound. He bought his Puppy Love a scarf worth thousands, and I simply smiled slightly, telling him to buy a hat as well because the weather was terribly cold. He thought I had finally become sensible, not realizing that behind his back, I had renounced my citizenship and submitted an application to Doctors Without Borders. By the time he realized, I had already disappeared. There was no trace left of me. Chapter 1. When I received the call saying my application was approved, I couldn't hide my excitement. Please rest assured, I'll report on the 3rd of next month. After hanging up the phone, I felt warmth in my eyes and touched the necklace around my neck. This was the last thing my parents left me. Both of my parents were Doctors Without Borders, and my dream was always to become one just like them. But after marrying Kevin 4 years ago, he thought it was dangerous. So I put away that passion. Now, with nothing holding me back, it's time to pursue my dream again. I wiped away a tear and turned to see Kevin coming out of the bathroom. He was drying his wet hair and noticed my red eyes. Frowning slightly, "Did you cry?" I shook my head. Something got in my eye. He hummed in response, not calling me out on my poor excuse. Or perhaps he was in a hurry to leave and just didn't care. He changed clothes, and something fell from his pocket. I picked it up and saw it was a restaurant bill. Kevin froze for a moment, then reached out, grabbed it, and crumpled it up before tossing it in the trash. The last time we ate with the director, I paid for the meal. I smiled bitterly. This restaurant was a couples-only place. You couldn't get in unless you were a couple. That director was a man in his 40s or 50s. And he didn't even bother to put any effort into hiding the lie. It seemed like he really didn't care at all. Chapter 2. When I didn't react, Kevin seemed like he wanted to explain something. But then his phone rang. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the name Sabrina on the screen. The next moment, Kevin stepped away from me and went to the balcony, even closing the window. His face, usually cold as ice toward me, was now full of smiles. Not long after, he hung up the phone, his brow slightly furrowed, saying that there was an urgent matter at school and he needed to go. Before I could even respond, he grabbed a coat and rushed out the door. I knew that the urgent matter he was talking about was just him going out on a date with Sabrina, something that had happened 1,000 times before. Sure enough, downstairs, as soon as Kevin exited the building, a petite figure rushed into his arms eagerly. He said he was going to school, but the direction the car was heading was in the opposite way. 3 months ago, when Sabrina came to their school as a counselor, Kevin suddenly became a completely different person. The man who was usually serious and reserved now joked and played around with Sabrina. The man who only had eyes for his research was now taking a week off just because Sabrina coquettishly asked, simply to accompany her and watch the stars. The man who was always careless suddenly noticed the weather getting colder and bought her the latest imported scarf. On my birthday, when I said I wanted cake, he said I wasn't a child anymore and that there was no need to celebrate. But for Sabrina's birthday, he bought her a 3-layer strawberry cake and even took her to Disney. I confronted him, and he said that Sabrina was young, alone in a strange city, and that he should take better care of her. But Sabrina was only without her parents. While I truly had no father or mother, he was the only family I had in this world. Chapter 3. After that day, no matter what Kevin did, no matter how outrageous, I never raised my voice again, because I had decided I didn't want him anymore. I had the lawyer draft a divorce agreement, and I also submitted my application to the United Nations for Doctors Without Borders. Now the application was approved. All that was left was for him to sign the divorce papers. The next day, I met up with my best friend for lunch. She teased me, asking if the sun had risen from the west today. Since you got married, for 4 whole years, every time I tried to meet, you'd say you had to cook for your husband. For 4 years, I had indeed cooked for Kevin every day, but not anymore. While we were eating, a familiar voice caught my attention. I turned toward the sound. Sabrina was pouting. "Professor, I don't even know how to write reports. You didn't sleep all night because of me. Do you think I'm dumb?" Kevin affectionately brushed her nose. "You are kind of dumb. Without me, what would you do?" You'd probably never finish one in a month. This soup is so hot. I really can't do anything with you. Kevin smiled helplessly, then picked up the soup in front of Sabrina and patiently started blowing on it. My throat felt dry, and a wave of bitterness spread through my heart. I remembered once, when I had burned my tongue from the soup, Kevin had said I was being pretentious, rolling his eyes and saying, "No one's fighting you for it. It's like you've never had soup before." It wasn't that he thought the soup was too hot. It was that I was the one drinking it. I turned my gaze away, pretending not to see them, but my best friend noticed. She nudged me. "Wait a second. Rita, isn't that your husband? Why is he sitting with another woman?" I saw it. They're just colleagues from his workplace. Colleagues? Who sits that close to a colleague and blows on their soup? That woman is practically hanging on Kevin. I can't stand it. She's messing with my friend, and she's finally met her match. With that, she charged over in their direction. I didn't have time to stop her before my best friend started yelling. "Kevin, do you have any sense of boundaries? That woman is practically hanging on you. If I didn't know better, I'd think you two were a couple. And you filthy woman. He's a married man, and you're chasing after him, trying to be the mistress." The crowd quickly turned their attention to watch the scene unfold. Sabrina tugged at her clothes, looking like a child who had done something wrong, her eyes red with tears. "Enough!" Kevin shoved my friend hard, then turned his cold gaze toward me. "Rita, how can you be so despicable? Sabrina hadn't eaten anything last night. I just took her out for a meal, and you send your friend to embarrass her? What do you want? Do you want to make Sabrina lose face? Are you happy now? I didn't expect you to be this vile. I really misjudged you." He looked at me with eyes full of disappointment and gently comforted Sabrina. For a moment, all eyes in the room were on me. In his eyes, I was the villain. I met Kevin's gaze calmly and said, "I didn't instruct anyone to embarrass her. It's just that people have eyes. Not everyone is blind." Then, ignoring Kevin's astonished expression, I turned and walked out with my furious friend. Once outside the restaurant, my friend continued to curse. "This heartless man. Do you remember when you gave up your dream for him? Rita, you gave up your dream to become a small doctor in a hospital, and now he says this to you? It infuriates me. I swear I just want to crush him." I forced a smile. It was in this very restaurant where Kevin had once proposed to me, saying he would always treat me well. I remember I had coquettishly said, "You better not lie to me, or I'll disappear and you'll never find me again." What was supposed to be a sweet flirtation had become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Chapter 4. When I got home, I glanced at my phone and realized that only 7 days remained until the 3rd of next month. I planned to start packing, but then I realized that I didn't have many belongings. A single suitcase would be all I was taking. When Kevin returned, I was staring blankly at the divorce agreement on the table. Since I was about to leave, I figured tonight would be a good time to talk to him about the divorce. He changed his shoes and went into the study. I picked up the divorce agreement and was about to knock on the door when I suddenly heard Sabrina's voice. "Professor, are you really going to divorce Rita?" The hand holding the divorce agreement tightened instinctively. So, he did want a divorce. This was good. It seemed the conversation would go smoothly. Suddenly, the door to the study opened quickly. I was about to speak, but before I could, he hurriedly said he had to work late and left. After he left, I took a shower and prepared to go to bed. I had a dream. In the dream, I was still a child, hugging my father's neck. He looked at me lovingly and asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said I wanted to be a doctor like my parents, saving lives and helping the sick. My mother smiled and said, "Then you must eat well and grow strong, because being a doctor requires a lot of physical strength." I woke up, and it was still early. The sky barely light. I went to the suitcase and found the white coat my parents wore when they sacrificed their lives. In the pocket was my father's last letter to me, still quietly resting there. "Rita, although your mother and I are no longer with you, we hope you don't let it break you. Be strong. People can fail, but they shouldn't be defeated. Face life's hardships and pain with courage. The ultimate value of life is to achieve no regrets when you close your eyes. Whatever you want to do, go for it. Your mother and I are watching over you from above." My nose tingled, and my eyes welled up with tears. I put on my father's white coat and stood in front of the mirror, choking back tears as I said, "Dad, Mom, I won't disappoint you." Just then, the door opened, and Kevin came in, his brow furrowed slightly. "Why are you wearing this coat? Do you still want to be a doctor without borders?" I bit my lip, holding back tears. "No, I was just wearing it for fun." Kevin hummed in response and comforted me with a few words, but my gaze fixed on the lipstick mark on his collar. It was bright red and freshly applied. He noticed my stare, and when he looked down, he saw the red mark too. I froze for a moment, murmuring softly, "Kevin, why don't we get a divorce?" He was stunned for a second, his face darkening immediately. "What are you talking about? How can you just say something like that?" He then vented his anger on the door. After a while, he came back in and asked, "Where are our wedding photos?" I was taken aback for a moment and quickly made up a lie. The frame was a bit old, so I took it to get reframed. If he really cared about me, he would have noticed that all traces of me were now gone. That night, as I slept in a half-dream, I suddenly felt someone wrapping their arms around me. A gentler voice than usual came from above me. "Did you get jealous today? There's nothing going on between Sabrina and me. That lipstick mark happened because she almost fell, and I helped her, and it accidentally rubbed off. We're completely innocent. She's just a colleague from our unit." I pulled away from his embrace, replying calmly, I believe you." With that, Kevin's agitated mood finally seemed to settle. He hugged me and soon fell into a deep sleep. I looked at his deep eyes and furrowed brows, and his gaze gradually darkened. Colleague? He'd take his colleague to see the stars, celebrate her birthday, and take her to Disney. But tell me that birthdays are for children to celebrate? The repeated disappointments had drained me. I could no longer believe his words. Chapter 5. The next day, I went to the office to renounce my nationality. Today was the day I was leaving, and I hoped everything would go smoothly. But unexpectedly, on my way back, I received an urgent call saying that Kevin had been in a car accident. My mind went blank, and I immediately took a taxi to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital door, I was about to push the door open when I heard a few voices. "Kevin, you really scared me when you pushed Sabrina out of the way. Aren't you afraid that car would have run over you? Look at how nervous you are." "Don't worry. She's fine. The doctor said it's just a scratch. But if Rita finds out you're hurt, she'll be scared to death." By the way, when Sabrina passed out, she said that once she woke up, she wanted to marry you to repay you. But you can't marry her. Can you? Why can't I marry her? Sabrina had an abortion for Kevin before. My heart seemed to be gripped by something, and I felt suffocated. So, they had this history. Sabrina had an abortion for Kevin. No wonder he couldn't forget her. A pair of tragic lovers, unable to be together because of me. My vision blurred, and I didn't even notice that my nails had dug into my flesh. There were moments when I truly believed Kevin when he said it was just colleague care. Now I understood. It was all beyond control. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. As soon as I entered, everyone in the room looked at me, and Kevin's friends looked awkward. "Sis, when did you get here? Kevin is fine. Don't worry." "Yeah, sis. He was just saving someone. Please don't misunderstand." Their explanations were just a case of trying to cover up the truth. I ignored them and walked straight toward Kevin, handing him the divorce agreement. "Kevin, you really scared me this time. I bought you insurance, and I need you to sign it." Kevin looked at me with suspicion, wanting to say something but stopping himself. At that moment, Sabrina let out a few soft murmurs. Kevin stopped hesitating, quickly signed the papers, and went to comfort her. Suddenly, he looked up at me. "Rita, rest well. I'll come see you tomorrow. Don't worry." I didn't misunderstand, because those were the facts. Kevin sighed in relief, then turned back to comfort Sabrina. Chapter 6. The moment I stepped out the door, Kevin seemed to sense something, and he rushed out to give me a few parting words. "While I'm not at home these next few days, make sure to lock the door and close the windows. With the holidays coming up, there are more thieves around." I smiled and said, "Got it. This should be our last meeting, Kevin. From now on, We will never meet again. After leaving the hospital, I followed the rescue convoy straight to the airport, embarking on my journey to Country M. My journey as a doctor without borders was about to begin. I was ready to dedicate everything to contribute to the light of human life. Kevin stayed in the hospital for a few days, and during this time, Sabrina took care of him. He kept glancing at the hospital door, feeling empty inside. At first, he didn't even know what he was waiting for, but when a colleague mentioned why his wife hadn't come to visit him, Kevin finally understood where the emptiness in his heart had come from. Rita had promised to come the next day, but 5 days had passed, and she hadn't shown up once. Kevin panicked. Sabrina held a peeled apple to his lips, but he didn't react. Sabrina pouted. "Professor, what's wrong with you? Why do you seem so absent? Are you worried about work?" "Don't worry. The school approved your leave so you can rest properly. Just don't think too much. All right? Have a piece of apple." Kevin snapped out of it and forced a smile, but he still didn't eat the apple. "It's not about work. Sabrina, can you go home and check on Rita for me? She hasn't come these past few days, and I've been feeling uneasy." A flash of resentment crossed Sabrina's eyes, but she smiled and agreed. "Okay, since the professor asked, I'll go check on her, but Rita doesn't really like me, so I'm afraid she won't be happy to see me." Kevin frowned slightly, thinking about how Rita had treated Sabrina in the past 6 months. He worried that Sabrina might feel wronged if she went. He sighed softly. "Forget it. She's probably just busy. There's no need to go. I'll be out of the hospital in a few days anyway." Kevin thought that once he was discharged, he needed to have a serious conversation with Rita. Her hostility towards Sabrina was too much, and he didn't even understand where it came from. He still had to work with Sabrina, and her behavior was making things difficult for him. But by evening, that strange sense of unease returned, and Rita's eyes kept appearing in his mind, as if filled with endless sorrow. His heart raced. It felt as if something was quietly slipping out of control behind his back. He finally managed to fall asleep, but he had a terrifying nightmare. He dreamt that he couldn't find her. No matter how hard he searched, he couldn't take it anymore. As soon as the sun came up the next morning, he pulled out his phone. He wanted to go back. He needed to confirm whether Rita was still there. Just as Kevin tried to get up, a pair of pale hands pressed him back onto the bed. "Professor, you're still recovering, and you need to stay in the hospital for a few more days. Rita's an adult. She can handle herself. If you're really worried, I'll go check on her. At most, she'll just yell at me." Sabrina gently persuaded him, but Kevin pushed her hand away and softly said, "Forget it. I'll just go home. I've been here for so many days already, and I probably don't have any serious injuries. I can rest at home." Sabrina immediately started crying. "Kevin, just for my sake, please stay a few more days and rest properly. After all, you were hurt trying to save me. If you go home now, I'll really feel uneasy and guilty." For a moment, Kevin's face darkened, his voice cold. "What's there to worry about? And what do you mean? For me? Don't say things that might give people the wrong idea. If Rita hears that, she'll misunderstand. It's been years already. You need to let go of those feelings. You'll always just be Zach's girlfriend to me. Don't expect me to see you as a woman." Chapter 7. 6 years ago, Kevin's best friend Zach was still alive. At the time, Zach had a girlfriend he really liked, Sabrina. But the truth was that Sabrina only agreed to be with him because he was Kevin's best friend. Kevin was the heartthrob of a university, the object of admiration and affection for countless girls, including Sabrina. After being rejected, she settled for second best, choosing to get close to Kevin through his friendship with Zach, secretly harboring feelings for him. Then, a devastating earthquake took Zach's life. It should have been Kevin who died, but Zach sacrificed himself to save Kevin's life. His final wish was to entrust Sabrina to Kevin, hoping he would take good care of her. At the time, Sabrina was already pregnant with Zach's child. She had become pregnant before marriage, and her parents, embarrassed by her actions, loudly rejected her, claiming they didn't want a daughter like her. They forced her to reveal who the father of the child was. Crying, Sabrina went to Kevin, and knowing how domineering her family was, "Kevin, unwilling to let his friend's death be further tarnished by shame, claimed the child as his own. But at that time, Kevin was still a poor student. Sabrina's parents beat him up and then forced Sabrina to have an abortion. At that time, the people at school thought Sabrina had really aborted Kevin's child, believing Sabrina to be an incredibly devoted and loving girl. So, that day in the hospital, when Kevin's friends said those words, they truly believed them. But only Kevin knew that his feelings for Sabrina had always been that of a brother's loyalty to his best friend, nothing more. Kevin didn't pay any more attention to Sabrina. He left the hospital and went straight home, eager to see Rita. But when he pushed open the door, he called out for Rita out of habit, only to be met with an endless silence. He looked around the empty room, and Rita's presence had vanished without a trace. Their wedding photo, Rita's side had been cut out. Rita's toothbrush, clothes, jewelry, and handbag were all gone. Even her pair of slippers by the door was missing. On the coffee table, there was a document and a note. Kevin tremblingly reached for it. The document clearly read "Application for Doctors Without Borders" in large letters. The note said, "Kevin, I wish you happiness for the rest of your life." At the end, it had Rita's name. Kevin could hardly believe it. He called out Rita's name several more times, but the silence remained. Then, he suddenly remembered Rita telling him that she had bought him insurance. She loved him so much, how could she abandon him to become a doctor for Doctors Without Borders? Suddenly, Kevin recalled that he hadn't seen any mention of insurance in the document that day. Instead, there was some sort of agreement. He had wanted to look at it carefully, but Sabrina had interrupted him for some reason, and a wave of anxiety surged in his chest. He rummaged through the cabinets for a long time, searching for the insurance. He didn't find it, but he did find a divorce agreement. It had his signature on it. The date of the draft was January 13th, 2025. Chapter 8. It was actually more than a month ago. After looking at the numbers repeatedly, he finally remembered. The day before this, it was Rita's birthday. Rita, who usually kept a natural look, had put on light makeup, and she looked beautiful. She said to herself, "Kevin, today is my birthday. I want to have some cake. Can you come with me to buy some?" To Kevin, celebrating birthdays was something trivial, and at the time, Sabrina was sick and alone here. She didn't get close to anyone except him. Besides, it was just a birthday. If they couldn't celebrate it this time, there would always be next year. Kevin didn't think it was a big deal. As for celebrating Sabrina's birthday, it was because of Zach. Zach had always spent her birthdays with her every year. Kevin had promised Zach to take care of Sabrina, but he had failed, letting Sabrina undergo an abortion and suffer physically. Out of guilt, he had subconsciously tried to make up for it in other ways. What he didn't expect was that because of this seemingly trivial matter, Rita had truly fulfilled her previous promise. She had really disappeared from his world without a sound. He painfully closed his eyes, and suddenly, memories of that day flooded his mind. When Rita had said, "Kevin, why don't we get a divorce?" It turned out she wasn't joking or throwing a tantrum. She truly wanted a divorce. He remembered that he had comforted her and calmed her down. But now, thinking about it, Rita must have been utterly disappointed in him. She had no desire to argue or fight anymore. The details of the past few days came back to him clearly. She had suddenly worn that white coat of his father's. That day in the restaurant, when he had called her cruel, the cold look in her eyes, the wedding photo at home, which wasn't actually reframed as he had been told. She had been lying to him. It turned out she had planned to leave all along. Kevin pounded his head, hating himself for being so oblivious. If he had noticed any of this in the past month, he would have known she was gone. Yet, he foolishly signed the divorce agreement, still deceived by her. Chapter 9. Kevin tried everything to figure out Rita's whereabouts, but he came up empty-handed. Suddenly, he thought of Lily, Rita's best friend. They were so close. She had to know where Rita had gone. Excited, Kevin couldn't wait to find Lily. But before he could say anything, Lily slapped him across the face. "TCH. Scumbag! Last time I didn't teach you a lesson, and now you dare to come here." In the past, Kevin might have gotten angry, but now, All he wanted was to find Rita. The slap didn't hurt or bother him. If Lily was willing to tell him where Rita was, he'd be willing to take a few more slaps. Lily, where did Rita go? You must know where she is, right? Tell me. I have something to say to her. Please tell me. Rita is your wife. She's probably at your house. What are you doing here? Kevin knew she was lying. Rita left. She's gone to be a doctor with Doctors Without Borders. You're her best friend. She must have told you. What are you talking about? Rita's whereabouts are a secret. How would I know? But you, looking like this. What are you trying to show off? It's disgusting. TCH. Kevin's face fell, but he didn't give up. Please. I'm begging you. Just tell me. I'm begging you. Late love is cheaper than grass. What are you pretending to be? Do you not remember how you treated Rita before? In front of so many people at the restaurant. You trashed Rita, called her cruel, just to defend your mistress. Now you have the nerve to ask about Rita's whereabouts? Rita did the right thing. You'll never find her in this lifetime. Kevin continued to struggle with the door, trying to force his way in, until Lily called the security guards from the complex and had Kevin thrown out. Chapter 10. Sabrina looked at Kevin with a face full of sympathy. Helping him up. Professor, why do you have to do this? Rita has gone, and she's gone. Let her be, and look around you, okay? Kevin paused for a moment and turned to look at Sabrina. Look around me? Who do you mean? You? Do you think you're worthy? You're not even worth a single hair from Rita. Sabrina's face turned pale. If Kevin had yelled at her, or vented his frustration, it would have been easier to bear. But the calmness in his eyes, the calm tone of his voice, made her feel as though she had never even entered his sight. Kevin shook off Sabrina's hand and coldly spoke the truth. Sabrina, if it weren't for Zach, I wouldn't have even glanced at you. 6 years. I've taken the blame for you. I've disappointed Rita over and over again. Really, that's enough. From now on, let's pretend we've never met. As for Zach, I'll always owe him a life. But now I realize, that life isn't something I should owe you. Sabrina stood frozen in place, while Kevin walked away, disappearing into the traffic. After that, he didn't give up. He continued trying every possible way to find Rita. He even flew to the United Nations headquarters. Unsurprisingly, it was all in vain. The world was so vast. Finding someone who had already renounced their nationality was no easy task. He finally gave up, and not long after, he became disheveled and lethargic. His passion for teaching and research began to wane, and he started going through the motions. He realized that this was not the way to go. He was misleading students. He couldn't accept it. He knew Rita had become someone etched deeply into his bones. Someone he couldn't let go of. The only way to change his current miserable life was to find Rita. Only Rita could save him. So, he quit his job at the school and signed up as an international volunteer, traveling to war-torn regions, disaster-stricken areas, and places affected by epidemics or earthquakes and tsunamis. Wherever Doctors Without Borders might be, that's where he would go. He believed that his genuine sincerity would touch the heavens. Chapter 11. 3 months later, in the earthquake-stricken area of Country A, Kevin was busy moving supplies. A recent earthquake had devastated the area, and his volunteer team had come here to provide aid. Suddenly, a familiar voice reached his ears. Senior, your hand is injured. Let me carry these things. You should go rest. It's just a scratch. Nothing serious. But you haven't slept in days. Your eyes are turning into panda eyes. Go sleep in the tent for a bit. Rita, there are injured people here. Kevin turned toward the voice, and the person he had been thinking about day and night was right in front of him. His eyes welled up, and he could no longer hear or see anything else around him. All he could focus on was Rita. His steps quickened, and his hand clenched into a fist at his side. I exchanged a smile with Luis and turned to head toward the injured. Suddenly, a strong force yanked me toward them, and in the next moment, I fell into a warm embrace. I found you. I finally found you. Rita. The trembling voice rang above my head. My mind went blank, and my body froze as that voice echoed in my ears. I've been looking for you for so long. I almost thought something had happened to you. Rita, how could you be so heartless? You said you didn't want me. And just like that, you left me. It took me a moment to realize that the person holding me was Kevin. I struggled violently, pushing myself out of his embrace. Sir, please show some respect. Don't delay me from treating the injured. After speaking, I turned and walked quickly toward the injured area. While I was dressing the injured, Kevin stayed by my side, assisting me. He remained silent, but he instinctively knew exactly what I needed. Once the injuries were taken care of, Kevin continued to follow me, and when he saw I wasn't busy anymore, he hugged me tightly again. His voice was filled with emotion as he spoke. Rita, don't move. Let me hold you. I wanted to break free, but I couldn't. It wasn't until his emotions calmed down that he finally let go of me. I pushed him away forcefully. What's wrong with you? Why are you hugging me? You're my wife. What's wrong with hugging you? Please get it straight. We've been divorced for more than 3 months now. That doesn't count. I don't mean it like that. I interrupted him. I don't want to hear these useless words. Why are you even here? He seemed shocked by my cold response, as I had always spoken softly to him before. Is it because of Sabrina? Darling, listen to me. I can explain. It's not what you think. She's just my friend's girlfriend. I felt like my ears were about to get calloused. I'd heard these words countless times before. He'd say she was just a colleague. Now, it was a new excuse, but I still had no interest in listening. I couldn't resist his persistent pleading. He unloaded everything in a rush, trying to explain everything, but my broken heart couldn't be fixed anymore. I could only trust my feelings. You don't think that by saying all this, I'll forgive you, do you, Kevin? Even if you and Sabrina weren't in that kind of relationship, even if I believed Sabrina really was your late brother's widow. But ask yourself this, since she transferred to your school, how have you treated me? He nervously took my hand. Rita, I know I was wrong. I've hurt you a lot. I'll change. I really will. Believe me. He then pulled out his phone, almost proudly showing it to me. Look, I've already deleted Sabrina. I laughed coldly. So you're not blind after all? You do realize there was no boundary between you two? He was speechless. Kevin, did you think I would always be a good wife? Quiet and obedient, never complaining. That no matter how much you hurt me, I'd never leave? That's why you felt free to treat me however you wanted, to say things and do things without considering my feelings, constantly crossing boundaries with her. But you know, no matter how much I loved you, I'm still a person. I can feel pain too. I'm completely disappointed in you now. I don't want this anymore. So please, don't ever disturb my life again. You saw it. I'm happy now, and I'm living a fulfilling life every day. Kevin's face went pale. A look of pain crossed his expression. At that moment, Luis walked over and said some of the injured needed their dressings changed. I nodded and said to Kevin, this is where we end. Kevin, I don't regret loving you, and I hope you can move on soon. From now on, let's both be well. Chapter 12. After that day, I thought Kevin would finally get the hint and leave me alone, but he still hovered around me. I treated him as if he were nothing but air. Until that day, when Luis suddenly said he might have a fever. I touched my forehead, then his, comparing our temperatures. I don't think so. They feel about the same. Before I could finish my sentence, a loud, irritated voice came from above. What the hell are you doing? Kevin stormed in, forcing himself between Luis and me, his eyes filled with rage as if he wanted to tear Luis apart. What's wrong with you, man? Why are you touching her? What the hell do you think you're doing? I awkwardly smiled at Luis, then turned to scold Kevin. What does this have to do with you? Kevin, don't you think you're being way too nosy? Nosy? He had his hands on your forehead. He's taking advantage of you. Rita, comrade, have you forgotten that men and women should keep a proper distance? Oh, so now he suddenly cares about keeping distance between men and women? Where was this concern before? I hooked my arm around Luis's and deliberately said, Luis and I have nothing to do with taking advantage of each other. Kevin, do you really think that just because you're gone, I'll be single for the rest of my life? Kevin froze. After a long pause, he mumbled, What do you mean? Rita, You and him. I was just about to answer when suddenly, the ground shook violently. I instantly realized it was an aftershock and instinctively ran toward the exit. But before I could take more than 2 steps, a deafening boom echoed, and everything went black. For a moment, I thought my life was over, but when I opened my eyes, I found Kevin, coughing as I wiped away the thick dust. I realized that Kevin was using his own body to shield me from the debris that should have crushed me. I shook him. Kevin, don't sleep. Wake up. Don't close your eyes. He weakly opened them and smiled at me. Rita, I'm so happy you're okay. His smile deepened as he whispered, Rita, I really love you. Thank you for letting me meet you. Thank you for staying with me all those years. Thank you for marrying me and being my wife. I know I've hurt you deeply, but I never lied to you. My love for you has always been real. His voice grew weaker, his breathing more labored. Rita, stop talking. Kevin, don't say anything now. This isn't the time for this. We're going to get out of here. We'll be fine. Kevin, I didn't know why, but my tears kept falling uncontrollably, one after another. He reached out, gently brushing his fingers over the soft curve under my eyes. His gaze carried a faint smile. Seeing you cry for me, it makes me really happy. Rita, if there's a next life, I promise I'll love you properly. I will never let you down. I don't know how I got out. By the time I came back to my senses, I was already in the safe zone. Luis was tending to my wounds. What about him? Did he wake up? My voice was hoarse, my eyes empty. Luis's hands, which had been wrapping my wounds, paused for a moment. He looked up at me, his gaze clouded with sorrow. I heard him say, Rita, I'm so sorry for your loss. Loss? What loss? I stared at him, confused. Rita, Kevin wouldn't want you to be sad because of him. He's watching over you from above. You have to be happy. A hollow emptiness spread through my chest. The name Kevin seared into my heart like a branding iron, leaving a mark that would never fade. Chapter 13. After the rescue mission in Country A ended, I followed the medical team to several other locations. 3 years later, the organization granted me leave, and I finally returned to my homeland. I bought a burial plot in a place with excellent feng shui and laid Kevin's ashes to rest. I also visited the place where I used to live. I didn't expect to run into Sabrina there. The moment she saw me, she suddenly became agitated and ran toward me. Where's Kevin? Where is he? She looked frantic, asking over and over again, her voice bordering on hysteria. I pressed my lips together and remained silent. Then, as if something inside her snapped, she started screaming like a madwoman. Where's Kevin? Where is he? He's dead. I said it with complete calmness. In an instant, Sabrina fell silent. She tilted her head slightly, her expression blank. Dead? The next second, she burst into manic laughter. Ha ha ha. He's dead. He's really dead. I watched as she ran off. Years had passed, and I had no idea what had happened to her. But honestly, I didn't care. There was always something about Sabrina that unsettled me. What I never expected was that after hearing about Kevin's death, Sabrina would jump off a building. She leaped from the very building where we used to live, falling to her death on the spot. 3 days later, I received my orders to return to duty. Before leaving, I visited Kevin one last time. That moment, I knew it was our final goodbye.